So you finished your song, but have you really? In this series, we are going to focus on actually finishing your song. If you're watching this series, my guess is that you've written some stuff down, you're happy with it, but you're not certain about it. You want to record, but every time you think about booking that recording session, you get a little hesitant. Those days are over. Let's take a look at some tools, techniques, and even some considerations that will help you to get your song exactly the way you want it. Hello friends, I'm your host Diana Hellson, aka Mama Rude Gal MTHC, and welcome back to my series for the third episode of Actually Finish Your Song. And this episode is all about recording. That's right, guys, we did it. We got through the songwriting, we got through the arrangement. Congratulations. Your writing is not only finished, but it is refined. And we are finally ready to bring this concept into reality. But first things first, let's go record. So rather than getting into the comparison of like recording at home versus recording at a studio, let's focus on some tips that will help support your recording process no matter what setting you're in, so that you always end off with the proper sound and the proper quality that you are happy with. Tip number 1, be rehearsed. One of the biggest problems that a lot of artists have when it comes to recording is they get into the booth and suddenly they realize that they do not remember the words to what they're even here to record. This is a very common issue, you'd be surprised. With that said, one of the most important things that you can do when you show up to record is to be rehearsed. If you can, be memorized, but at least be rehearsed. Be rehearsed with your lyrics, your harmonies. Make sure you know where you're going with your vocals, so that you don't waste time in the studio. Because if you're paying an hourly fee, you do not want to spend that time writing and practicing when you should be recording. Advocate for yourself. It's important to advocate for yourself because sometimes when we're in the studio, we end up with a producer or engineer who just doesn't really understand our vision. When that happens, sometimes we end up leaving that session with a recording that we're very unhappy with. And depending on your circumstances, you may not get another chance to re-record. So it's very important to practice advocating for yourself. Don't let producers or engineers bully you out of your vision, but also trust and respect their expertise. If you find that the producer or the engineer you're working with is not giving you room to get your project where it needs to be, speak up. Most importantly, learn studio etiquette and always display a high level of studio etiquette.
Be respectful and aware of the fact that there's work going on around you. Try to avoid bringing an entourage. It really is energizing and exciting, but it is work.
This sounds really formal, but if you owned like $20,000 worth of gear, I'm pretty sure you would understand why it's a normal expectation that people display a level of decorum around your things.
No food or drinks nowhere near the gear.
Learn it so that you can nurture your professional relationships and your network and your community in a good way, in a positive way, and foster those connections well. Go with the flow. For example, if you find yourself underwhelmed by the quality of sound that you're achieving on the recording, consider using the session to record a demo. If you find yourself thinking, darn, this isn't as good as I wanted it to be, and you're realizing that perhaps the person you're working with doesn't have the capacity to give you the sound that you want, but you don't want to waste the session, you don't want to waste his time, your time, their time, whoever. Instead, use that time and space to develop yourself, your sound, or your goals. And if you don't trust that space to be somewhere to develop your sound, develop your goals. Pull out a different song that's ready to be a demo, even if it's not fully ready. Go with the flow, be adaptable. So how do we boost the caliber of our recording? Well, I will tell you. My favorite way to boost the caliber of a recording instantly is the metronome. Using a metronome during recording can help improve the accuracy of your timing And if you're doing something like rapping really fast or just rapping really consistently, having a metronome is your friend. But let me tell you, you do not have to be doing something crazy and advanced to need a metronome. Even if you're just doing a basic rhythm, having that metronome can keep that timing crisp and clean. And those 1s and 3s will thank you with high fives. Sorry, that was loud. Another way to boost the caliber of your recording is to warm up. Yep. Why would anybody warm up before going to the studio? That's cringe. Well, you want your recording to be good. It's your final recording. We're going for your final recording. We did all this work to get the songwriting and the arrangement just right. You owe it to yourself to be rehearsed and to be warmed up. Yep. So warm up those chords, baby, and get in there. And as I always say, get feedback. In this circumstance, you're going to want to get feedback from the person who's recording your session. They've got the headphones in. They hear very clearly what's going on and will be able to tell you were rushing. Maybe you should do it again. Bye.